Alright everybody, what's up? Member here, back at you with another video. This time I'm going to be going over all the things I like about Rivals 2 and the things that I dislike about the game. Alright, so I want to keep this as condensed as possible for everyone, so that way it's not too long. But I'm just gonna pretty much just be going down the line. Now, Rivals 2 has been out for about a little bit over a week now. There was a demo prior to the launch of the game, as well as a beta, and there were some other closed betas on it as well. So I believe now most people have gotten an idea of the feel of the game and what they enjoy about it and what they don't enjoy. Now, like I said, the public launch of the game, the game just came out, so my opinion might change as time goes on with the game. But as of right now, as for the first 2 weeks of the game's launch, this is pretty much how I feel in terms of what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy with the game. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to talk about, like number one, the movement in Rivals 2. And man, do I love the movement in this game. Now, one of the things that I think is really important to platform fighters, or just fighting in general, but specifically for platform fighters, right? Especially for this, is the movement. I really think you should have a lot of freedom of movement in your platform fighters, and Rivals 2 does that really well. The first game did it well, also, but but because of how the second iteration of Rivals works, I feel as though it's a lot more emphasized in this game, more intentional movement because of how shielding works, and I'll get into that later. It feels very fluid, and as a Smash player, especially as one that played a lot of Melee and especially a lot of PM, it feels right at home. So I love the fact that I can dash dance around the screen, and I can jab out of a run and tilt out of a run, and wave dash and wave land, and and ledge dash, and do all these crazy things, and just use my movement as a way of baiting my opponent to do things that I want them to do, and conditioning them as well. I really enjoy it. It feels very fluid. Pretty much everything that you could do in, like, if you're a Melee and PM player or whatever, everything that you could do in terms of movement, you could pretty much do in this game. Like I said, I'm not like a super expert at Melee or anything, but for the most part, like all like the the basic stuff that everybody knows about, you could pretty much do here. With a couple extra things like the baby dash and whatnot. I haven't really practiced that yet, but I know that is a thing in this game. But yeah, dude, the movement in this game is excellent, and I really enjoy just moving from platform to platform and just having that satisfactory being able to move, having that satisfying feel, I should say. Alrighty, so my second like with the game, I really love shielding in this game. I actually prefer the way the shield mechanic works in Rivals 2 compared to any iteration of Smash. Right? So the way that shielding works in Smash, right, is you hold your shield button, your shield bubble pops up, and it starts to shrink over time. And as the shield shrinks, you are more susceptible to being shield poked, depending on how large a shield is. And as your shield continues to shrink, and as you continue to as your opponent continues to make contact with your shield, it's going to continue to shrink more and more until there is no shield left, and then your shield will break, you'll pop up into the air, and you'll be invulnerable until you land on the ground. But once you land on the ground, you are completely vulnerable to being hit. You cannot really mash out of it. It's just a free punish, and I understand that point. I understand that because if you let your shield if you hold your shield for too long, if you keep it up for too long, you should be punished for it. But the way that it works in Rivals 2 is your shield does deteriorate over time, but it forms cracks. Which means that your shield does not shrink. The size of your shield remains constant, remains consistent until it actually breaks. But it seems like the shield in this game breaks more often. It might be a little weaker. I'm not too sure about that part. But when your shield does break, you pop up in the air the same way what you do in Smash. But until you land on the ground, you are completely vulnerable. So instead of being invulnerable, you are completely vulnerable to being hit, which means you can charge a smash attack, you can get ready to do an aerial to kill your opponent. But once you land on the ground, you can act again, which I actually prefer that. I prefer that a lot. So I'm not wasting, you're not wasting a whole bunch of time just watching your character fall out of the sky just to get hit. Okay, once you land on the ground, that's it, you're good. So there's still punishment for breaking your shield, or allowing your shield to get broken, but it just works differently, and I actually prefer that way. And I really like the fact that I can't get shield poked. I always thought that was always thought that was really dumb. But I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm not really gonna talk about that any longer. I'm just gonna say I really enjoy shielding in this game. It's awesome. Alrighty, so like number 3, Hitfalling. Now, this mechanic is a Rivals specific mechanic. This does not exist in Smash anywhere. Right, so Hitfalling is just making contact with your opponent with an aerial, and pretty much during the hit stop of whatever aerial you connect with, you can cancel it into a fast fall immediately, which means you don't have to be at the apex of your jump, you don't have to already be descending. You can do a rising aerial, and as long as it makes contact with your opponent, you can, on hit, not on shield, but on hit, as long as it makes contact with your opponent, you can cancel whatever current height of your jump that you're at, and you can just cancel into a fast fall, which allows unique combo extensions for each character. And this outright just improves the combo game of Rivals as a whole. And this was actually a mechanic that was in the first game as well, and I think it's an awesome mechanic, honestly, because when I play Smash and I want to do like a crazy setup or combo, I can't really do too much off of a rising aerial unless I'm playing a specific character. So if I want to extend my juggles and whatnot, I have to fast fall, or like throw out an aerial and then fast fall and then jump and do it again and time it that way, which was alright. I don't hate it, but in this game, it just Hitfalling just allows for this unique extensions with your aerials, and I think that's just awesome, and it adds a lot more actions and just allows a lot more expression, a lot more player expression just across the board. So yeah, Hitfalling is great. I really enjoy it. It's a dope mechanic, man. Alrighty, last but not least on my likes, the uniqueness of each character. No character feels the same in Rivals 2, and I think that's something that Dan and his team really noticed when it came to Smash, and this made it so that each character in Rivals is going to feel unique, is going to feel different from each other, so that way it doesn't seem as though you're playing a clone of the next one, or it doesn't seem as one character is sharing the same moveset or sharing some moves from another character. That's a big problem in Smash, where there's a lot of echo fighters and characters that share similar moves from one another. It's kind of lame, especially with the fact that there's like 80 characters. But no, I understand, because some characters are just clones of others and whatnot. But still, like, just from a competitive standpoint, like, there's no point in having Peach and Daisy, or Samus and Dark Samus, or Pit and Dark Pit, if you're just going to pretty much have 99% of the same exact moves. But this roster is a lot smaller, so it makes more sense for each character to be different. Compared to Smash, where there's 80 characters, there's like 80 characters in the game, so of course it's gonna feel, different from each other. Or of course, some characters are going to feel the same, I should say. Alright, y'all, so initially I was just going to make this one whole video, where I talk about my likes and dislikes with Rivals 2, but I decided to split it into 2 different parts. Part 1 talking about my likes and part 2 talking about the dislikes. Part 2 is coming up next, so just stay tuned for it. Alright, thanks for watching and peace.